Pell is up, everybody. It has been a hot minute, so I appreciate you staying along on Twitter. It's been about 10 days since I've released a podcast, so my apologies. Before we get started today, things will be a lot more consistent going forward, I promise. Just make sure that you subscribe, follow, etc. Like, drop a comment if you're on YouTube, Facebook, whatever. Just engage with us. We really appreciate it. I am Elliot Clough, if you can't tell, based on the handle right there. And if you forgot over the last however many days, we have not covered the Summer League. We have not covered, obviously, the Josh Hart signing that happened last night. And we're here to do that today. Before you do that, make sure, again, you subscribe, follow, comment, like, all that. We appreciate it. And yeah, I will get into that 10-day absence at the end of today's show. But you might also be able to tell I'm on a different laptop and the camera is not as good. And because mine got stolen and or lost. So working on getting a new one. We'll see what happens. Anyway, basketball. How about those Summer League Pelicans going 4-0? I feel like I've seen this before. Anybody else not shocked? Right here. Well, it's something that has happened over the last few years is where the Pels teams do really well in games that don't matter. And you know what? The trend continues. But how can you really be surprised? Well, given the history, one, and two, they have Naji, Kira, Didi, and AP, that foreign dude who's a center who's actually garbage, who have actually had NBA experience. And that certainly doesn't hurt. And of course, these last few seasons, they've had like Frank Jackson and Kenrich Williams and guys that have gotten those minutes before and then turned around and gotten some more minutes in the Summer League. And it just so happened to go that way this time around as well. And that Pelicans aren't the only team that does that or that has done that. The Pels just turned around and happened to win a bunch of games. But in referencing these guys that have played a little bit of time in the regular season with Naji, I personally thought it was pretty apparent that he was too good for Summer League. I had a little bit of pushback on that, and I'm not the only one who said that. I think people from the Bourbon Street Shots, the Bird Rights, and other outlets, media outlets were saying the same thing. Naji did not necessarily. He stood out. Naji's not a top 20 player in the league by any means, but he is a rotational player, and he's on another level defensively than the average player in the NBA. He's clearly improving. He's got IQ. He's an older rookie. And I think honestly, the Pelicans probably could have played him 1-2 games. Then they're like, he showed he's clearly above everybody else here, at least on the team. And we don't need to risk any sort of injury. He's going to be big in terms of defense into this coming year. So I think we're good. But they played him all 4 games. And he, as far as I remember, I'd have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure he led the Pels Summer League team in scoring, and that's great. I mean, not the worst thing in the world, not the greatest thing in the world. It's obviously the Summer League. But someone said in response, in terms of when I said I got a little bit of pushback, somebody responded and said that he's not a top 10 player in the Summer League. Well, he doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to be this holistically awesome player in the Summer League. That's not his role in the regular season. And so, therefore, he can work on some of those other things in the Summer League, like the offense, attacking the rim, shooting the basketball. But he doesn't have to do those things in the regular season. He's so good defensively. He's so good in terms of intensity. He's so good in terms of what he brings to the table each and every night in energy, in doing the little things, that he doesn't have to be the greatest, overall basketball player like some people may have wanted him to be in the Summer League. He doesn't have to be that. And he's so good in that role, you don't want him hurt. So he doesn't have to be a top 10 player in the Summer League. I mean, when you think about it, okay, Cade, Jalen Green, Mobley, Suggs, Barnes, maybe even Trey Murphy is technically better than him in a holistic way. Cam Thomas, Tyrese Maxey, Emmanuel Quickly, Peyton Pritchard. You don't have to give this guy the keys, for him to be valuable, for him to be too good for summer league. I think we would go the route of even like an Andre Roberson, who is just really talented defensively in his NBA career. Too good for summer league. In that role, he could not shoot to save his damn life, but in that role, too good for summer league. So you don't play him. And I think Naji is going to get to a point where probably next year he's not playing in the summer league. And I totally get why they did it. I totally get especially why they did it in these first 2 games. I probably would have pulled him after 2, but it just, he can continue to work to be a threat offensively in the summer league, and it can provide some confidence. But this dude is just a straight up NBA player. The extra reps are great, but he doesn't need to be out there with a bunch of guys who are going to be in Europe in 3 weeks to continue to get better. This is really more for the rookies and these European guys who want a shot. And I think playing him was not the worst thing in the world. He didn't get hurt. He, may have shown that he can be more than what his role is to somebody on the staff. And it was good. Probably didn't have to play as much. And I like Naji. I think his days in the summer league are over. And I see him in that role of being that really guy who's really important defensively and is not a plus, but not a negative offensively. And I think he's done in the summer league. Kira and Didi didn't particularly impress me all that much, if I'm being honest. Kira, this is the first time he was really given the keys on the offensive side of the ball, right? So last year, he'd occasionally take the ball up and set things up, but he was not entrusted with the offense to run it on the floor, and rightfully so. I mean, he's a rookie. Like, what do you expect? And this time around in the summer league, he was really, truly given the opportunity to be a point guard. He averaged 12.1 points and led the team in assists with 5.5. And he probably should have had more and would have had more in a regular NBA game. But when you're playing with summer league guys, some of them can't finish. Some of them aren't as good as shooters as you'd like them to be. And therefore, Kira just didn't pile up the assists like he probably could have in a regular NBA game. He's a great mind with the ball. He's quicker in hell, and we all know that. He showed some flashes of the mid-range jumper, which I liked a lot. And I think he's a really underrated defender. Yeah, he's small. He might not have the greatest wingspan in the world, but for a quick guard, I really think he knows himself, and he's done a really solid job of being a defender in the NBA thus far. Is he top? Whatever. No. But he's good enough. And sometimes being on defense, good enough is good enough. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be anything drastically amazing on the defensive end of the floor in the NBA to really contribute every night. You don't have to be Tony Allen every night, which, by the way, that audio clip from Naji saying I play the game the right way, I think that was him. It was him or Trey. I wish I would have known that. I should have looked that up. I'm pretty sure it was Naji. Somebody comment if we've got decent amount of people watching. So just drop a comment, let me know, because or look it up because I forget. Anyway, Kira, I think, is in a position in the NBA not necessarily to be a star, but to really be a guy you can rely on night in and night out. And that's what this summer league affirmed. He can be a defender. He can shoot the mid-range shot. He can make plays, but he's not necessarily, Chris Paul, at least not yet. Kira, this was a really good time for him to continue to get going and to continue to get reps. I'm not worried about him at all. He also tied Trey Murphy for steals, tied for most steals in terms of average over the summer league. So 1.8 a game. I'm not upset with that at all. That's great. Again, underrated defender. I think he knows what he's doing. He's not he's not Lonzo, he's not Drew, but he's underrated, and he's continuing to get better. And I think he's either still 19 or he's turning 20. So no rush on Kira Lewis at all, in my opinion. And then particularly Didi Louzada did not, I think, impress anyone over the summer league. It was a little discouraging to see what we got from Didi. And again, for those of you who are listening, you can comment. Would love to see what your thoughts are on the summer league, and if you have any questions for me. So Didi, we heard that he had been working on his jump shot with Fred Vincent all summer. And this is one of those situations where actions speak louder than words, right? We did not see anything really that made that apparent. At least like we did with Lonzo, like we've done with Brandon Ingram. It wasn't in your face, right? Didi Louzada was not great from three. He was not great in a lot of ways. Obviously, we know what he's capable of defensively. And I've mentioned this before. You hear about active hands. Well, Didi's active feet. That dude is ready for anything, ready to change angles at any point in time to be the type of defender and force an offensive player in a certain direction where they don't want to go. And I love that about Didi. But the dude is just not there offensively. There's a complete lack of confidence, and he just has this fixation on attacking the basket rather than shooting the basketball. And in this sort of system, and in the time with Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, he's going to have to be a spot up shooter. He just is. And the numbers weren't great in the NBL. And if he's going to really improve that, he's got to continue to work with Fred Vincent. Didi just officially, the Pelicans made it official. They announced that he had signed that extension to play. He's locked up for a little while. Same for Billy Hernangomez. And again, I like Didi, and it's the same thing as I just said with Kira. I'm not necessarily worried. I'm not saying the sky is falling because that is not me when it comes to the Pelicans. That is not my niche. But it wasn't particularly impressive, and it wasn't particularly something that makes me excited about Didi. I was really hoping he would step out in the summer league and say, I've had NBA minutes. I've seen this now. He knows English so much better than when he was drafted. And I've been working with Fred Vincent and just have that up here. And also know that he's out there with Kira and Naji, who he's also played before. I really was excited about seeing Didi in the summer league, and it was very anticlimactic. And NOLA, Lulzy, you hit it on the head right there. Hard to see Didi playing unless a number of guys go down. I completely agree. I just don't see it. And I think he's definitely at the end of the bench more with the two-way guys than being a consistent rotation player in the NBA. Because if that shot is not falling, if he's really that raw offensively and it's in minutes that matter, you're not going to play a guy that can't shoot. You're not going to play a guy that is that much of a negative offensively. And that's for right now. Again, sky is not falling. Sky is not falling. We could all be shocked. He could continue to improve and be really high value down the line because his defense is awesome. And we know Griff loved him in the second round when they took him. So they're not going to just let him go. Obviously, they signed him to that extension. And maybe he's a trade piece in the future if another team believes in him. But right now, there's not enough from Didi to fully believe that he is going to play for the Pelicans in this coming season. And now to transition to some of the new guys, we'll talk about everyone's favorite in a moment here. But first, we'll start off with Jose Alvarado, the undrafted point guard out of Georgia Tech. I was really impressed. I saw that the Pelicans picked him up as an undrafted player, and I was like, okay, maybe he'll be around for the summer league, and we'll see what happens. They'll probably get somebody else on a two-way. And no, they took on Alvarado on the two-way, and he's there with, I think, I'll have to look up the other guy's name, as I tweeted about him about last week, I believe. And I really loved what I saw from Alvarado over the summer league. I mean, I mentioned Kira not necessarily being Drew Holiday, not being Nah. And you could probably say the same thing about Alvarado, but I loved Alvarado's perimeter defense, man. He's not long. He's really short, compact, doesn't have a great frame. But that dude is intense on the defensive end of the floor. I loved what I saw from Alvarado. Is he a star? No. Is he going to receive consistent minutes this season? Again, same as with Didi, is if a number of guys go down, maybe. I love what we saw from Alvarado in the summer league, and he wasn't, a top 10 player necessarily on in the summer league or in a top 5 on the team for the summer league. But what I'm saying is that he's got that grit, that tenacity, that perimeter defensive intensity to impact games and show he wants to be a part of a game and influence it. And he doesn't have to play big minutes or minutes at all this season. And he will, I think he's really earned a spot on that two-way. He's not necessarily a shot creator or creator for others on offense, at least in the NBA either. But if he ends up being a TJ McConnell type, sign me up, dude. TJ McConnell has value in the NBA. At one point in time, when I was in college, I said TJ McConnell was the most underrated player in the NBA, which now that I cover the NBA and the Pelicans on a regular basis, probably a stretch. But I would love to have a TJ McConnell on this roster. We saw what he did to the Pelicans this year. I don't want to go into that Pacers game because too soon. But if he can be that guy who's, 9-10 guy on the bench and come up and just screw things up for the other team's offense and be an irritant, be the guy who's in your face and irritated, not able to play your game when Alvarado's defending you. He just picks the ball away and it's like, how the hell did that little guy just get the ball away from me, get the ball and disrupt our offense? And if he can be that, sign me the frick up. I'm done. Down. Let's do it. I'm in. I love the two-way pickup of Alvarado. And I think I think he can be really a lot of help on the defensive end and really the offensive end with practice. I mean, he can just get up in the face of the guards, of Devontae Graham, and just piss them off in practice and make them used to that type of irritation to where if they don't receive it, it's like, game on, let's go off. That's what I'm really hoping for from Jose Alvarado. And the other guy is Dalton. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. I think it's Holmes or Hamas. And he didn't particularly impress me in the summer league. But he got a spot and it's a two-way contract. If the Pels see him as an up and up guy, great. He shot 47% from three his senior year at Point Loma Nazarene and averaged 21.9 points a game. So maybe they're going off something they saw in the summer league in practices or whatever, or that. He played in Italy this last year. I couldn't find any statistics for that, but whatever. And then there's the draft picks. Herb Jones. I know a ton of people who wanted JT Thor in that situation, and myself included in that moment in time. I didn't know a whole lot about Herb Jones. We never talked about him with the draft evaluation guys that came on the podcast. But Herb is legit, dude. Herb is super legit. And not Herb, Chris Connor. If you happen to see that on Twitter, he responded as if I was talking about weed, and I was not. So Herb has great basketball feel, and I love what he brought to the summer league. I love it. I was not expecting this from Herb at all, and we got it. He was great, and he wasn't filling it up. He wasn't the MVP of the summer league or anything like that, but he showed what he can be in the NBA. And I don't necessarily think that he's going to be, this top tier guy right away at all. He's still fairly raw, especially offensively. He's got to work on that touch around the rim. He's got to work on that jump shot. But man, that dude he's a cross between a basketball player and a hooper. If you're watching on Twitter, you know what I'm talking about. But he's got such a good feel for the game. He's a good passer. Some people have said he could be in that Draymond Green role for the Pelicans, which would be interesting. That length he has he knows how to use it on the defensive end. And he's pretty strong too. And having him and Kyra Lewis, both guys from Alabama, I like it. He can create. And he's shown he can make shots and flashes. He's not a great shooter yet. And again, Fred Vincent is the cure-all. So we'll see what happens there. But great instincts. And if anything, if you're just watching basketball, you know nothing about the game. It's like, that dude is fun to watch. I like watching that guy play basketball. He's an athletic freak. He's got the bounce. He can work on that jump shot, like I said. He's awesome defensively. This quote from Trey Murphy, I loved it. He said, I literally call him straitjacket. Whoever he's guarding, don't even worry about them. I just love Herb as a team to come. So he's a top tier defender. He is a stopper. And he's a guy you can throw in to the lineup and say, go, I don't know. If they're playing, let's say, I don't know, the 76ers, go piss off Tobias Harris. Foul him a couple times, defend him really well. Let's get going. And I'm not quite to this point yet. I want him in the J Hart minutes from that guy, Jaywalk, who works with us a lot and engages with us a lot. I'm not quite there yet. Josh has been in the league for a while. He knows the league. I think I could get there probably in the next 2 years because Herb has to actually play some NBA minutes for me to say that right now. And so that's where I'm at. And we'll talk about the Josh Hart re-signing in a moment here. But now for the man of the hour that I wanted to give a little extra time to talk about. Dude, Trey Murphy might be the steal of the draft. There are not 16 players better than Trey Murphy in this NBA draft. There's just not. No way in hell. Not even close. I said this on Twitter. The thing about taking Trey Murphy at 17, trading down to 17 to get him, and then you also get Jonas Valanciunas in exchange, is that at 17, middle of the first round, you don't have to take the big swings. You don't have to take the home run swing like a lot of teams do in the top 10, like the Kuminga grab. You can just take good players. And Trey Murphy is very good. He's very good. He's shown he can impact the game when he's not making shots. That game he had 7 points. He also had 7 rebounds and 7 assists. He can put the ball on the floor way better than I anticipated. From what I've heard, he just really didn't get to do that a lot at Virginia, is what I'm told. And so Derek Murray, and Ethan Piota both told us that he hadn't put the ball on the floor much, but he has room to grow there. And he can do it. Like, we just didn't see it. And it's no fault to them at all. Because we just didn't see it. And he's shown that he can do that. I don't know how you can not love literally everything about Trey Murphy. Like, the talent, the self-awareness, the maturity, defense, creation off the dribble. He can make open shots. He's athletic. He's long. He's cold-blooded and wants the ball in his hands late. And he wants to defend the other team's best player. Didn't shy away from guarding Kuminga, Mobley, Patrick Williams. He wanted it. And you know what else? Willie Green wanted him to want it and gave it to him too. Isn't that shit awesome? This is just, he talks about having pride on the defensive end of the floor, where somewhere Stan Van Gundy is seeing that and bawling, because there was just none of that last year on this squad. And I mean, he's not just proud to play defensively. He's not just the guy who wants it at the end. He wants to be in New Orleans. This has been a topic of conversation in free agency, in trades, in reference to Devontae Graham. But you could say the same thing about Trey Murphy. He wants to be in New Orleans. He said he's proud to represent the city. He's very appreciative of the Pelicans taking him. And that's a kid you want going to battle with you. That's a kid you want a part of your team. It is. 100%. That's a kid I'd want to play with. Oh, damn. Breaking news. Patrick Beverley to Minnesota for Juancho, Hernan Gomez, and Jarrett Culver to the Grizzlies. Interesting. I'll tweet about that once this pod is over. But anyway, he's not wasting this opportunity in front of him. He's legit. I mean, this is legitimately just the beginning for TM3 too. I heard him on a podcast say that he wants to be an all-star in 5 years. And he's got the potential. And he was taken at 17. That is a W. Holy crap. That shot, I mean, the fact that he made a ton of open threes and scored a bunch of points in the summer league. He said it in the day, like the media session the day after he was drafted, and said, it's going to be a knockdown three. So and he's so appreciative of his mom and his dad. And I tweeted out a little 15-second clip of something that the Pelicans put out about Trey. And his mom responded to it. She quote tweeted it. And I said, hey, I'm glad you like this. Something to the effect of, you did a great job. Trey's a good kid. And she responded and followed me and said, thank you. And Trey made it easy. And he's just a good kid, and he's smart. And this is the other thing. And I'm going to this is from the Noble and Rouge podcast with Ball is Life. Trey said on this podcast that he was 5'8" and 160 pounds or something, maybe 130 pounds. That's a big difference. But he was small when he was going into high school. And when he graduated, he was 6'5". And right now he's 6'9" and just 21. So he could continue to keep growing. That would be crazy. With the type of touch he has, he was just the 11th player in college basketball to ever go 50, 40, 90. Shooting percentages. That's pretty sweet, if you ask me. And he's freaking 6'9". He knows how to use his length. He said it about Kuminga as well. When you're playing against a guy like that, if you're going strength for strength, he's going to beat you, but I had to use my length, and he used it so well. He put his chest into him, put his arms up. Man, I just love that kid. Love what he's bringing to the Pels. And we'll talk more about Willie Green as well, but probably should wrap this up here. Last thing I'll say, I guess, is Josh Hart signed that 3-year, $38 million contract. I really thought it was going to be a sign and trade sort of scenario where he and Tomas Satoransky and like maybe a second-round pick or something like that went to the Kings for Buddy Hield. Not happening now, at least prior to the season, maybe at the trade deadline. That's a very tradable contract. We'll see how it's structured going forward. It's a very tradable contract. Satoransky's a tradable contract. You got those picks too. Obviously, you don't want to have to give up as many picks as one would think at this point in time. Giving up picks adds up. You don't want to do that when you've got this bevy. And for guys like Devontae Graham, who is great, it shouldn't have been included in that trade, in my opinion. I'm excited about Devontae, but you can't give up picks like that. Anyway, Hart, 6'5", gritty guy who brings it every night. And you're going to have him. You're going to have Naji. You're going to have Nah. You're going to have Herb Jones defensively. That's pretty good. Josh Hart, a great defensive rebounder as well. The way it looks to me is it's going to be probably Devontae Graham, Brandon Ingram. Shoot, I think it's going to be Devontae Graham, Nah, Brandon Ingram, Zion, and Jonas Valanciunas as a starting five. And then you bring off the bench Josh Hart, Naji, Trey Murphy. If you want to go a little deeper, hopefully Jackson, a little bit of Billy, and then you go from there. Tomas Satoransky, Garrett Temple, probably going to play a good amount of time this year. We'll see how it shakes out. The roster is full, and by the sounds of it, with the roster being full and kind of overly full, it seems like Wenyon's going to get cut, but we're not going to address that until it happens. Not speaking that into existence, because y'all know I am a Wenyon stan to a T. That is who I am. So, but I don't hate bringing back Josh Hart. I would have loved, got infatuated with Buddy Hield like a lot of you did over this stretch of time. I think it would have been really fun to see Hield on this roster rather. And it'll be all right. Josh gets up to hopefully 38% from three. And, he does everything better than Buddy, in my opinion, other than shoot the basketball. And shooting is very important. So I would have loved Buddy, but Josh is a good basketball player. That's all you got to do in the NBA. Get your superstars and surround them with good basketball players. And then you will hopefully win games. We'll see, depending on the defense of Zion and Brandon Ingram. And last thing, for those of you who follow me on Twitter, you know that I tweeted out it had been a difficult week for me. It's been very difficult for a lot of reasons, which I won't get into on the podcast. But for everyone who responded and sent some goodwill my way, prayers, thoughts, vibes, whatever, I just want to say thank you. And it was very overwhelming, the response. You didn't have to respond the way you did Pel's Twitter, but you did. And I want to say thank you. And I'm very happy to be a part of it. And, they say social media is negative. It's all negative about social media, but that type of response from people I've never met in person before was pretty cool. So thank you. Lastly, make sure you subscribe, follow, like, comment, all that. Whatever you think about the Summer League, whatever you think about Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, the other members of that Summer League squad, and the Josh Hart re-signing, what you think about that as well. So, folks, thanks so much for tuning in today on Pelicans Plus. Once again, I am Elliot Clough at Elliot Clough on Twitter, and this was Pelicans Plus.